Hi, my name is EJ Massa. I went to film school, so I know a little bit about true cinema, much like the great filmmaker David Lynch, who said this.
Playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your f***ing telephone. Get real.
And it's completely true. And what David Lynch was talking about was the only way to experience films, which is on one of these, the Game Boy Advance. There were many shows and cartoons released on carts for the GBA back in the day, including 3 whole movies, Shark Tale, Shrek, and Shrek 2, which are the only 3 true films, and I think David Lynch would agree.
Get real.
In fact, the cart I have has both Shrek and Shark Tale on it. While most Game Boy videos played in a resolution of 240 by 160, these ones play at a crisp 112p to fit on this cart, so they're basically the definitive versions of these films. It's like vinyl versus CDs. One format just has more soul. And look, I still have the box for my Game Boy Advance I got in high school. I got this guy on launch day, and as you can see, this one's been through a lot, with a scratched front screen and a yellowed Dorito-stained barcode sticker on the back. My goal, I think, is to get the definitive experience out of the Game Boy video. So I bought another Game Boy of a similar era on eBay so I could do experiments on this one. It was missing a battery cover, so it was slightly cheaper. This will allow me to leave my childhood Game Boy intact while I abuse this eBay one. Those grease stains just hold too much nostalgia for me. And that eBay Game Boy, besides missing a battery cover, is in much better shape overall, honestly. But let's see what the quality of the video is like on the original non-backlit screen. Ah, I love that loading noise. It reminds me of being motion sick in the back of a car. Wow, look at that quality. You can barely see it, so it's perfect. And apologies for muting the audio and depriving you of All-Star by Smash Mouth. I had to turn it off for copyright reasons, but I'm sure your brain has already filled it in. If you're anything like me, All-Star by Smash Mouth plays in your head every single hour of every single day, and will continue to do so forever, until my heart stops beating and my mind goes dark. And the last thought that will run through my brain is, somebody once told. So this already looks perfect. But I think we should strive for a more perfect Shrek by modifying the system and installing a backlit screen. Now I know what you're thinking. Can't you put that cart into the Game Boy player on the GameCube and play it on a big screen? Wrong. When you power it up, it says right there that it's not compatible with a Game Boy player. And it would be illegal and morally wrong for me to show you how to get around that. I'm going to show you how to get around that. Sure, if you use the official disc, it won't work. But if you have this action replay disc combined with this SD card reader that goes into the memory card slot, then you can load up custom programs like these low latency Game Boy player programs, which actually help improve the image from the Game Boy player, and it gets around the Game Boy player restriction in those video cards. I'll have links in the description below to Retro RGB, which has instructions about this software. Then I can plug in this expensive D-terminal cable into my GameCube, connect the D-terminal cable to my retro gaming upscaler, pop in the movies, connect a Japan-only Game Boy player controller for some reason, connect an HDMI cable from the upscaler to a monitor, and then load up the software. Wow, look at the quality. Am I watching a Sony Blu-ray disc? I literally can't tell. I will say there are simpler, cheaper solutions that you can connect an HDMI cable to your GameCube. I admit, my setup is needlessly expensive and complicated. So yeah, this looks absolutely amazing. But I feel like it's cheating, and not what David Lynch had in mind. He wanted you to watch it on this.
Get real.
Now, of course, the original GBA didn't have a backlight, but the Game Boy Advance SP had a front light, which was okay but not ideal. And the second version of the SP, known as the AGS 101, had a pretty decent backlit screen in its own right. But you can buy an IPS screen, which stands for in-plane switching screen, which basically means it's a good screen. This one is made by Funny Playing, and it was sent to me in this cute little kit by Retro Game Repair Shop. Included is some adhesive tissue tape for the screen, a glass lens that replaces the plastic one, which is slightly larger to accommodate the IPS screen. And here's the version 2 of the ribbon cable with some little wires. Apparently the first version of the ribbon cable caused some screen tearing. When my screen tears, I just fix it with tape. Also included in the kit are some spacers for fitting in the screen, and of course, the screen itself, which is that beautiful IPS screen that we have to install. To open it up, we'll have to remove these security screws. Nintendo didn't want anyone opening these things up and screwing around, and they thought, most people have screwdrivers with 4, well, let's just make them have screws with 3. Nobody will ever be able to get into these ever. However, Nintendo didn't predict Amazon, where you could get any screwdriver you want for less than $8. I bought this screwdriver a while back, and I'll use it to crack open the GBA by removing all the screws in the back. The one in the battery door mixes it up by using a Phillips-looking screw just to keep you on your toes. When I take it apart, these things fly off. I'll collect those and the shoulder buttons and save them for later. The 3 screws inside are also Phillips head. I guess they figured they could use normal screws once you got this far. We'll remove those and I'll butterfly the unit. I removed all the normal buttons and I set those aside as well. I carefully removed the ribbon cable with the old screen. We'll keep the motherboard, and actually I'm going to say goodbye to this Arctic white shell because I got this clear charcoal colored one from Zed Labs. What's special about this shell is that it's pre-cut to fit this screen. If I were to use the Arctic white one, I'd have to cut the shell as described by the directions, which I don't think I trust myself to do. I get in trouble every time I cut something. At least when I'm caught. The great thing about this shell is it comes with an authentic looking sticker for the back, which was actually missing from the white one I got on eBay. So I'm not the only one with corrosively greasy hands. Lots of companies make custom shells like this. You can get them in lots of colors, you can get them pre-cut or just get them normal. They even sell different button colors. But I'm sticking with the buttons from the Arctic one. I think it looks nice with the charcoal. Before I go any farther, I'm going to test to make sure this screen works. I inserted the ribbon cable, added the motherboard into the black charcoal shell so I can put in the batteries, snapped on the screen to the ribbon cable, powered it on, and ta-da! Looks great! No cracks or damage or anything. I put some 2-sided tape to adhere the screen to the ribbon cable. The instructions suggest you add Kapton tape to the ribbon cable to insulate the components, so I did that. Just a side note, the board I have uses the 40-pin ribbon cable connection. If you have the 32-pin connector on yours, you have to fold the cable like this. So make sure you check which version of the board you have. Now it's time to get the screen on the front shell. I lined up the adhesive frame, peeled off one side, got the frame in place before peeling off the other side. Added the plexiglass spacer so the screen sits in the right place. Alright, here's the risky part. I have to peel this screen protector off and slam it down without getting my grubby fingerprints on it. Careful. Careful. I'm definitely not clenching my butthole while I do this. And phew, I did it. Now I'll peel the adhesive off the lens and place it down, all the while blocking my light, making the shot needlessly dark. And yes, it is satisfying to pull off that film. Oh yeah. And wow, that looks super sharp. I love it. Now so that I can control the brightness of the screen, I'm going to solder the included wires to the L, R, and select leads on the ribbon cable. I'll solder the select wire to this TP2 spot. The R wire gets soldered to this spot on the left side of the back. It's a little confusing because it's flipped right now, and the L goes on the other side. And for fun, I put Kapton tape on this 32-pin connector side since I'm not going to be using it. Okay, put in the ribbon cable, pressing these gray things down with my screwdriver so it's nice and snug in there. Added the buttons back in, the D-pad, replaced all 3 board screws, added the side things and the shoulder buttons back on, screwed in the tri-wing screws and the battery slot screw, and most importantly, put on that very important sticker. If the system doesn't have that sticker, you might as well throw it into the trash. Now the moment of truth. I'll stick that card in and it powers on. That's a good sign. Let's test the brightness mod to make sure the soldering was correct. Holding select and tapping the L button dims it, and selecting the right shoulder button brightens it. Perfect! I did it! Now, Let's bask in the beautiful glory of our little green friend. Yes, our friend Shrek. Ah! This is truly the most perfect way to experience this film. David Lynch was dead on. This is a masterpiece of cinema on perfected hardware.
Get real.
Just to give you a comparison, here's the screen next to the old dim one. The other one doesn't even look turned on, but if you raise the blacks, here it is. Such a difference. Now that this is done, I'm gonna curl up every night with a glass of whiskey in hand and watch Shrek. Just Shrek every night. Oh, and I guess it plays games, but that's not important. What's important is Shrek. And to a lesser extent, Shark Tale, but that's not as highly valued in the meme economy. But I had a lot of fun with this mod. It's easy to do. It's one of the less complicated ones, especially if you get one of those pre-cut shells. I love the form factor of the original Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy SP is good. The clamshell design, you gotta love it. But I feel like my hands get a little more cramped on it. But that's just my personal preference. Another important note is that the Analog Pocket just came out for pre-order a couple weeks ago and sold out within moments. This is basically a recreation of GBA hardware with no emulation. And there's adapters for other systems too. I actually snagged one of those pre-orders before they went out, so I'll have to make an updated video to see how Shrek looks on that. But it doesn't ship until well into 2021, so it'll be a while. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have my Game Boy, I have some whiskey. It's time for some Shrek. Until next time, bye!